strong in faith.
Faith can move mountains. Radio Maria, 91.3 FM.
The voice of truth.
All right, good afternoon. Happy Friday, everyone listening, and welcome to Active Citizens here on 91.3 FM, Radio Maria, the voice of truth. I hope you've had a really good week this week. My week has been excellent, actually, but very busy, I must say. I can't thank God enough that we're now on Friday and we finally have some time to relax and get ready to do this all over again next week. But I'm very glad to be coming your way again today on this show, Active Citizens. And today I have a very important guest, a dear friend of mine as well. So I'm very delighted to have him on the show. Before I introduce him, I want to welcome everyone who's especially joining us for the first time, who is not familiar with this show. I want to tell you a little bit about why we meet here every 4 p.m. On Fridays. First of all, this show was born out of the need to shape a new generation of patriotic Nigerians who are committed to contributing positively towards nation building. And three things that we seek to do through this program is to educate our listeners on the importance of volunteering, on the importance of civic engagement, and opportunities that are available to build their professional expertise through volunteering. Another very important thing that we seek to do through this program is to spotlight and celebrate active citizens who are leading change in their communities and globally. And then last but not the least, we hope that, through the guests that we bring on this show and the conversations that we have here weekly, that we're able to inspire you to think more creatively and more intentionally about how you, the listener, as well, can be a more active citizen and how you can be a more contributing member, to your community. And we hope that we've done that over the last few months since we started this program. So thank you again for joining us, and to our regular listeners, we can't thank you enough. Thanks to you, we keep going, and we just know that knowing that you're there gives us the courage to keep doing this every week. I mentioned earlier that I have a really special guest on the show today. My guest on the show today is a cancer control advocate, really, diligent at his work. I've met him, I've known him actually. I was reflecting on this sometime this week when I invited him to be on the show. Maybe he reminded me about this actually, that I think our paths first crossed in 2014.
Yeah.
And at that time, as a member, well, I still am, but on the alumni now, a member of the Global Shippers Community, an organization, the youngest community of the World Economic Forum. And at the time, the Abuja hub was hosting, what we call Shape Africa. And anyway, why don't I introduce you first, and then we talk about how we met. I'm sure those who are listening are probably wondering, who is this guy? So my guest is a cancer control advocate. He's a global health consultant. He's a researcher. He's a psychologist. He's a social entrepreneur. And he's devoted most of his life and energy and creativity and innovation and drive caring for indigent cancer patients and providing free breast and cervical cancer screenings to rural women, raising also millions of naira in funding for poor patients, and also engaging government on policy advocacy relating to cancer. We're very pleased to have him on here. He's done such a phenomenal work through his organization called Project Pink Blue. If you don't know this organization, you really should look them up. They've done a lot of work. If you follow every February since 2014, actually, when I've known him, I think maybe the first one was 2015. Yes. They've hosted the walk, the cancer walk, and on this walk they bring together hundreds of people who basically come together to learn all they need to know about protecting themselves against cancer, early screenings, and we're going to be talking about all of that and how you, the listener, can also protect yourself and prevent some of these from happening before they actually happen. So we're very pleased to have you. Thank you, Runcie, for coming on the show today. Welcome. How are you? How are you feeling this
I'm
Friday?
fine, Bella. Thank you so much for really inviting me. I mean, I'm so honored to be here. Really a fascinating place, honestly.
Thank you. You should tell our guests how beautiful this place is, so they can be keen to come on here.
I mean, the Radio Maria, it's really beautiful, honestly. I haven't seen a radio that has this kind of space.
There you go.
Like, we can actually play football in this studio.
Well, audience, if you're listening, let your imagination run wild. He's not kidding. It's a really big and beautiful, well-designed radio station. So hopefully, if you're an active citizen who's listening in on this show, you can also be our guest here and get to, maybe bring a few friends and play football one of these Fridays.
Yeah.
So Runcie, welcome again on the show.
Thank you so much.
It's great to have you here.
Yeah.
One of the things that we want to do is it's always important for me to get into the minds of people who are, doing great work in their community. I'm always curious to know what inspires them, to toe that line, because you could have been doing anything with your life right now, but you choose this path. What inspired you to explore this career path?
Okay, you see, Bella, the interesting thing about my life and my journey with supporting cancer control is really accidental. And if you check across Nigeria and all over the world, almost all people who really started some cancer organization or people who are really engaged in cancer awareness are usually, maybe they have their family members who died of cancer and they set up their foundation. My own case is totally different. I didn't have any relation. I started Project Pink Blue as a personal community development service during my NYSC. So when I was doing my NYSC, before doing my NYSC, when I was in the university, I always sort of be really passionate about doing something around body satisfaction and cancer and all the rest of them, but not really deep. So during my NYSC, I usually when you go around the street of Abuja, you see women with bandage and sometimes children with eyes, a lot of cancerous things begging for money. So during the NYSC, that was in 2013, I asked myself, maybe I could just, create awareness about all these, sort of cancerous tumors and deformities across the city of Abuja. That kind of fun thing. CDS now. Yeah. CDS for most
something
youth
to win awards.
is just something, exactly, just to have fun and just, So I started putting the proposal together. And what I discovered then was that NYC in Nigeria, it's really one free lunch that really, as a young Nigerian, you get. I think that is one of the mega free lunch every Nigerian youth get, because with that NYC uniform, I was able to enter any office. I was able to really go anywhere and get the kind of support that you needed. So that's how I started. And I would just go to some companies. I would say, okay, don't give me money. I use what I call the need strategy. Don't give me money. Just please, I need 50 t-shirts. Just help me print it. And many printers in UTC were very, very happy to just support this copper with 50 t-shirts, 100 banners, and printed materials, because you didn't ask them for money. I go out to some companies and say, okay, don't give me money, just give me what you have, and this is what I want to do. That was how I was able to mobilize the first screening in Kabusa village, and we had over 100 women. And they received breast cancer screening and cervical cancer screening free. Then everybody was like, wow, this is good. All my friends in the NYC, then we hosted another one at Old Parade Ground. We had over 300 women. And I finished my NYC. And the plan was, as the best graduating students from University of Nigeria and Nsukka, Department of Psychology, all I wanted was to go back to the university, become a lecturer, and move on with your life. But that failed. I got a scholarship in Netherlands. It failed as well. So, and sometimes disappointment is really important, because sometimes God disappoints you to appoint you to where He wants you to be. But you might not really understand. You see that disappointment as, God, I'm screwed. And I feel disappointed. I feel depressed. I had to take some time off, go to Ghana, cool off with family, before I really realized that I really need to think more about my life beyond me as a person, but also things around me. And while I was just online on Twitter, I just saw a tweet from Omojua, surprisingly, about the Shape Africa I Am Bold Award. I was like, wow, $1,000. You know, $1,000 in 2015,
Was a
really,
lot of money.
2014 is a lot of money, you know. So I was like, this could be a good opportunity, and it was very easy to apply. Just do a video and just send in. So I was like, okay, cool. I just did the video and I sent in. Not too serious per se. While I was still in Ghana, and then I got selected. So Shape Africa actually launched me into this career, and that's why it's really part of my history. I don't really forget it. That's how I moved from just carrying my laptop as Project Pinglu to where we are now, that we've been able to support, you know, thousands and thousands of women. We've been able to raise millions of naira for people. We've been able to train doctors, nurses. So, I mean, that's my story.
That is such a powerful story, and you know, I must say that it's a privilege and honor, actually, and an honor to be connected to that story.
Yeah.
I know a few weeks ago here we hosted the current curator of Abuja Global Shapers,
Okay.
Princess, yes, Dr. Princess, and she talked about eye care. She's an optometrist, and we got a chance to talk about her own work as an optometrist, but also how the Global Shapers continues to shape since 2011 when the Abuja Hub started. And you know, we talked a little bit about how we came in contact, and I think it's important. The reason why I amplify and reinforce that story is because I remember vividly that when we met you, it was evident the passion you had for the work that you were doing was very evident. So the reason why you were selected amongst, you know, those individuals, or out of the individuals who applied, was because you spoke so passionately about what you wanted to do, you know, with that grant. And it's quite heartwarming to know that many years later, right, that seed of $1,000, and I must tell you, this is a secret, not most people know this. At the time that we were pledging that $1,000, we did not have it as a hub.
Wow, really?
But we were connecting to faith. We believed, right, that this was worth supporting, and one way or another, you know, we'll have to raise the money to do that. So again, shout out to organizations like Deshola is Media Insight, who also supported, you know, very heavily with media for the first
Shape Africa.
The first walk that you guys did.
After
you got the award. But you know, that aside, you've said a lot of things about what inspired you to explore this. But you know, and you talked a bit about Project Pinglu. But for people who are listening, can you tell us a little bit more about what your organization does?
Okay, thank you very much once again. So Project Pinglu is a cancer non-profit. We're an NGO that we are focused in creating awareness, as well as, you know, providing free cancer screening to, you know, people, both men and women. We also provide training, oncology training. Right now, we provide oncology training to doctors, we provide oncology training to nurses, to pharmacists, and we're also upgrading to providing training as well to pathologists. You see, the truth is that we have been creating awareness. So every year, we host multiple programs. We hold the World Cancer Day, which will have like 5-kilometer walk in Abuja here. And, you know, we're very happy last year, post-COVID, we were able to mobilize over 3,000 to 4,000 people to walk on the street of Abuja and create awareness. And we also do the same thing in Lagos every October, which we call Pink October Lagos. And we also have awareness work as well. And interestingly, the work that we are doing have really been recognized, including, you know, both from government and from international bodies and all the rest of it. You know, in 2016, we really played a very vital role in pushing the National Assembly to pass the bill to establish the National Institute for Cancer Research, which is to see how we can coordinate cancer control a bit more. And right now, the bill was signed by President Buhari, so we're hoping that, you know, the bill will be gazetted and implemented so that Nigerians could really have access to better, you know, cancer care, just the same way we also have in other illnesses. So our work is really, I don't want to, like, you know, blow my trumpet.
Please
but
blow your trumpet. I'll blow it for you if you don't choose to blow it.
But you know, to be very honest, my excitement always stems around that I started this to just create an impact. But my joy today is that I've used it to not just create an impact in this disease area, but I've also created employment. You know, I've really created a massive employment for so many young people who have come to our organization and who have left our organization, moved to other paths, do bigger things, you know. And not just coming to our organization and leaving our organization, but we have also built over 1,000 volunteers. So this 1,000 network of volunteers that we have across the country, we inspire them to do a lot of things. Some of them have gotten scholarship abroad, so they are running their own NGO from the lessons they learned from us. So it's really more like, you know, I'm really being fulfilled because I criticize a lot, and that's very honest. I criticize, I write critically, but one thing that really kept me going was like, see, you cannot continue to criticize the government. You cannot continue to talk about how bad the country is. You can't continue to talk about how bad the leadership of this country is. You know, you need to begin to move from not just complaining, but also doing what? Acting.
That's right.
And that is the level where I am now, that I'm really excited, because if I tell the government, or if I tell the leader, or if I tell my local government chairman, you're not doing anything, I can also tell you what I'm doing to make Nigeria better. You know, so I'm really, I think, you know, I'm really more like an active citizen, contributing while also championing a cause to get our country better.
That is such a powerful thing you've said, Runcie. And for those who are listening, you know, I hope you took down the notes of the number of people across the country who are engaged in the work that you're doing. Over 1,000, that's huge. So if you're listening and maybe your background is public health, even if it's not, but you might be interested in exploring, you know, work in this area and seeing how you too can be an active citizen, you know, you already know what to do. You know, reach out to Project Pink Blue, reach out to Active Citizens. We're happy to link you guys up. But please don't leave this show today and still be asking yourself, you know, or be the person complaining and not doing anything. You know, we have equal stake in making this country, you know, a better place. And I hope that we will be able to take advantage of both the opportunities that are afforded us as citizens, but also the responsibilities that we have, you know, to hold government accountable, but to also do our part to make our communities a better place. Runcie, and I must commend you and, you know, your organization for the work that you're doing. The burden of cancer in Nigeria is worrisome, is overwhelming. You know, in the time that you've done the work that you're doing, how did we get here? And what can we do to ensure that, you know, we're finding out these things early and we're taking precaution early? For people who are listening, how can they better, you know, what's the place of education, you know, to create awareness that people need to be able to, you know, identify this early?
Yeah. So Bella, thank you very much. I will say three things. You see, one is cancer incidence is increasing every single day for multiple reasons, but I will start with the first reason. We're currently having more Nigerians beginning to be more European than the Europeans. So this is a very serious issue because more people are now beginning to leave the Nigerian lifestyle to adopt the European lifestyle. And scientific data has shown that Western lifestyle is really a factor in the incidence of cancer. So I'll break it down further, because when we talk about Western lifestyle, people don't understand sometimes. But this has to do with what we eat, has to do with sedentary lifestyle, has to do with people not eating organic stuffs anymore. People just want to eat more of hot dogs and processed food. For instance, processed meats, it's already been established that it can increase the risk of having different forms of cancer. Smoking can also increase that. So, you know, obesity, also a very, you know, huge risk factor. You know, and so these things are what people are beginning to adopt. You know, people no longer cook at home these days. Everyone just want to do carry on and just go to, you know, that kind of stuff. So that's number one. Number two is we're now beginning to have more diagnoses available to more people. So the cancers have been there, but because it hasn't been diagnosed, now we are diagnosing it, you know, it's now increasing. And also Thirdly, is because of the innovations we're having, which is very good. It's helping us to now begin to, pick these things up at different levels. Even people who are like 80 years and 70 years, we're still being able to pick them. Initially, like when they're like, that age, people
Yeah.
don't really get it. But to answer the question about what can we do, I think what can we do really reflect on how people looking around their community and see what they can do in their own little way. Before Project Pinglu came into the space of cancer, we don't have many young people who run non-profit in cancer. All the people who run non-profit in Nigeria before me were all older people. Like we have Her Excellency Dr. Zainab Shinkafi Bagudu, the First Lady of Kebbi State, have Prophecy Fomo Koye, we have Eniola, Ebun Eniola of Cope Foundation in Lagos. These are like, old people who are like, they can't really, I'm not saying they don't have the capacity, but they are not so social media savvy, understanding the use of media. So we need more young people, we need more organizations to really inject their energy into creating awareness, the same way we did for HIV. If you remember when the crusade for HIV was, it was like almost everywhere you go, you see young people dancing, young people singing, you see musicians, you see all sort of innovation to create awareness about HIV. So we need that kind of revolution. We need that kind of positive revolution about this disease, because the truth is that if you meet 5 people today and you ask 5 of them, have you known anyone who have had cancer? At least 4 of them will actually raise their hand, telling you they've seen or they've had someone who have. So it's a very serious issue, but we need more action to get people to really, tackle this disease more.
So public awareness.
Yeah.
More public education. Again, for listeners, these are areas where you can actively engage to get the word out, spread the word about what people can do, about the importance of early detection. Runcie, while we're on this topic, I know you mentioned, lifestyle and as part of this.
Yeah.
I see a lot of, one of the things that bothers me lately, quite frankly, I know that people are entitled to, treat their body the way they wish to. It's your body, you do whatever you want with it. But I'm seeing increasingly more and more instances of people bleaching and using, bleaching, skin lightening, creams. What is the what are we, what is the, I can't even struggling to frame the question. What should we be mindful of, for those who are engaged in things like this? Because sometimes I find that it's also, even I've engaged with like younger, like teenagers, right? Who are doing this because they see other people doing it. I don't even know that they're thinking about the implications. What are the implications of these kinds of behavior?
So you see, when I started with your previous question, I said people want to be more European than European. It's still connected to it. See, a lot of people now they've devised a new word. Initially, we all know it as bleaching cream. Now they've changed the word to toning cream. Now they've also brought out a new word that they are now calling it bleach. What do they call it? It's all over Instagram. Is it the one they call organic something? Organic something. So the truth is, if you're listening to me right now and you are really using any of those toning cream that had hydroquinone in it, you're placing your body on a high risk. And most times, in most cases, the risk of having skin cancer, another form of cancer that you could put yourself at risk at, does not come at your real age now. It could be 5 years later, it could be 10 years later. In fact, by then you are actually like, oh, you've given up and you've stopped even the cream. That's when you start seeing the impact. And the painful part is that sometimes the risk of it doesn't even come just on risk on cancer of cancer of the skin. It could even go to maybe other parts of the body, like maybe cancer of the liver or the brain or whatever. It could really happen to any other one. So, to all our listeners listening, please stay away from these bleaching creams, these toning creams, or whatever name they call it. They say it's organic, that they made it organically. It's not true. Those creams are causing huge problems to your life. Another very wild one again is shisha. shisha has grown so wide now that many young people are being pulled towards it and say, oh, forget about cigarettes, forget about all these other ones. They could cause lots of issues to you. Just take shisha. And you also know that it smells really good, right?
It does.
It does smell, but the truth is that it also has huge risk, huge potential to cause cancer. And painfully, shisha causes almost about 14 types of cancer. Cancer of the bowel, pancreatic, lung cancer, breast cancer in the case of women. It could also lead to other forms of cancer, like cancer of other gastrointestinal organs, because these things are they are nicotines, and they usually go at the high levels. So even when mothers actually smoke, or when fathers smoke in their children, they actually place their own children also at risk of those cancers.
This is really important information you're sharing, Runcie.
Yeah.
And for this is not a demarketing campaign. So if you're engaged in any of this, whether the selling of it or the advertising, we're not here to spoil your market. It's just that I think it's really important that people are aware of what it is that they're doing. I mean, ultimately we have the choice to decide if we want to go one way or another. But I think especially for the much younger people who are doing this because of influence of what they see on social media, of the people that they admire, that they see do these things, it's really for you to have the right information, to be able to make a more informed decision.
Yeah. And the government is really taking some very active steps. If you check some packets of cigarettes today, the government writes it clearly that smoking kills. But what some of us are pushing now is to actually write the names, the title of diseases, like smoking kills, and smoking can lead to cancer.
Yeah.
So people can know in specific what you're putting yourself at risk at. And that's why some of the campaign, like the Tobacco Law, Tobacco Act, has really pushed so hard that cigarettes have become so expensive, so that you can make it, increase the cost, so that you can really call it sin tax.
Disincentivize.
That kind of stuff. Yeah, pro-health tax to reduce people from taking it. But I think what we are doing today at Radio Maria is so important to help create that awareness, especially for young people.
It's interesting you say that they now write on the packaging smoking kills. I think when we were growing up, it was you're liable to die young. I think they advertising the warning. I feel like now it's more
face to face.
It's more intense. There's no sugar coating anymore.
Yeah.
All right, we promised our listeners that we're going to open up the phone lines at some point during the conversation. I think this is a perfect time to do that. So if you're listening on, whether you're joining us on radio or listening via the app, feel free to give us a call or send us a message via WhatsApp on the phone line 081 084 47518. 081 084 47518. Like I said earlier, you can send us an SMS, a WhatsApp message, give us a call on 081 084 47518. Runcie, for those who are listening now, regardless, and maybe are in their 20s or 30s, what do they need to be doing, right? In terms of tests, or like health-wise, what kinds of health checks do they need to be doing now to make sure that, because we mentioned early detection as being very key, what kinds of tests would help you to detect this kind of thing?
Okay, I can give a number of like tips to reduce cancer risk. Number one, it's really have a healthy lifestyle. Having a healthy lifestyle is really, really key, right? Eat well, eat lots of vegetables, reduce intake of like processed foods. Limit your alcohol. A lot of people don't know, but alcohol also increases your risk factor. And I'll tell you something I did as a personal, as my own personal commitment to reduce my intake of alcohol. I stopped taking lager beer, because while I was in school, lager beer is the easiest thing any friend can buy for you. A friend can just sit with you and buy 2 crates of lager beer for you, because with 10,000 you can buy like maybe 1 crate, right? I now said, oh, I don't take lager beer anymore. I only take wine. And many of my friends like, wine? No, I can't take it to a bar and buy wine for you. It means I'm just going to buy one bottle of wine for almost 20,000 naira when I can use that money to form a big boy and buy the whole neighborhood drink. So you can devise what works for you to ensure that peer pressure doesn't push you down. You know, and if it pushes you down, when your health is down, believe me, those peer pressure won't come for you. It's only your family that will be there for you. That's number one, limit your intake of alcohol. And then vaccinate situations where you can. And I'll tell you, in reality, some cancers that vaccination can prevent. For instance, if you're listening to me today and if you have hepatitis, you know, your chances of having what they call liver cirrhosis is high, because hepatitis, high viral load could lead to liver cirrhosis, which could lead to liver cancer. So it's better you just go get yourself vaccinated against hepatitis, and by that way you are preventing liver cancer. Another vaccination is also what we call the human papillomavirus vaccine. Human papillomavirus, you know, is a virus that causes cervical cancer, and the interesting thing that it's actually now known that it causes cervical cancer. So I really encourage parents who are listening to us to really consider taking their children who are at the age of 9, 12 to get them vaccinated before they are already exposed to sex. The pathetic thing is that you know, some men could have the human papillomavirus and they can transfer it to women through sex, but they don't have cervix, the organ that is known as cervix. For that reason they can't have cervical cancer, but they can transfer it to a lady and she will have cervical cancer. They could have genital warts and other stuff, but not cervical cancer. So get yourself vaccinated against human papilloma virus. Even guys now can get the Gardasil part of the vaccine also for that. Another one again is obesity. Anytime I go anywhere and I talk about obesity, it's always very difficult, because you know, in Africa we have you know, like I mean, not really in Africa per se, but like I mean, in my village, let me just be very honest, in my village, some people will tell you, come on, I don't need to, you know, have you heard of that? So I'll explain. So we'll say,
I think another way they say that is you only live once.
You only live once.
Like the Western way to interpret that.
Exactly, you know, so people just want to eat and eat and eat, and assuming that when you look big, it shows you're wealthy, shows you're rich, or you're feeling well. It's not true. You need to get healthy. You know, so exercise. I used to run 5 kilometers every week, every Saturday. You know, but right now with all the responsibility, I still do push-up. I still try to maintain, you know, a healthy lifestyle, because the truth is that, you know, malignancy rarely survives in exercised body, but it survives fast in unexercised body. You know, so it's so important people are fit. Next one is breastfeeding. So it's really encouraged that women who give birth to their children breastfeed. It will help them to reduce their risk of cancer. And of course, cancer mostly comes at those ages when people actually, after giving birth, or breast cancer in specific. So these are just some few tips. I mean, we've talked about cigarettes already. Some few tips that people should really be mindful about, so they can really, you know, reduce their risk of cancer, because it's so expensive to treat.
I agree. And is there any way to know? Are there any what do you call it?
Screening, diagnosis.
Screening, but for example, if you had breast cancer, are there any signs or symptoms of that?
Yeah.
You know, whether it's breast cancer or prostate cancer, what should you be looking out for example? But even before you get to the looking out for, what should you do? Right? In the terms of screening, what kinds of screening should you have, and at what age?
Yeah. So it's really advised for women. You know, now the screening guideline is slightly skewed, right? But what everyone needs to know is, if anyone, so that's what we call, you know, if you've had familial history, like anyone in your family, your grandmom, your aunt, your sister, anyone related to you that have had any form of cancer, it shows that you're high risk, right? But if you meet the doctors, they can check your risks properly and know if you're high risk or moderate. So if your risk is really high, it's advised that once the woman have breast board, she needs to start examining herself. Examining at least once every month, so that she can look out for signs like, nuptial deviation. Nuptial deviation is, I've always said this, that some of the challenge we have in breast cancer awareness is that men know about women's breast more than women. So I think it's so important that women will begin to know their breast more. If a woman knows her breast more, she becomes breast aware, and she can know when her breast begin to deviate to a different angle where it wasn't before. Today we know that in most women's breasts, one of the breasts is usually bigger and one is usually smaller. So a woman should know which one I know that is bigger, which one is smaller, and you should know where it's pointing, right? So that when the nipple begin to deviate to another angle, you should know, this is not normal. Or if you feel like a lump is what I usually, in a very simple way, puli, see something like a knot inside your breast, then there is an issue, right? Or probably you see what we call the nipple between retraction, the nipple retraction, then that's also a really, really, very strong sign. Then also, if a woman is not breastfeeding and she begins to find like frequent discharge, then she also needs to, be mindful of. That's for breast cancer. Then for other form of cancer that is also very common in Nigeria is the prostate cancer. Prostate cancer usually come at the age of 40, 50-ish, Yeah, but for people who are also very high risk, it could be younger. Yeah, then so the painful thing about prostate cancer is that the symptoms sometimes, cut across the symptoms that people also see around diabetes and other illness, like maybe frequent urination, having pains or, that kind of stuff. Yeah, but what I will always encourage is to go do DRE, which is dictal rectal examination, or go do prostate-specific antigen test for you to make sure that everything is all right. And for colorectal cancer, very, very popular. Colorectal cancer is increasing in Nigeria and it's so painful. Colorectal cancer is the cancer of the colon. It's called cancer of the colon. It's called colorectal from the two words colon and rectal. And it's the cancer that usually occur where you see some people are stooling blood. People will be stooling blood, and they could go to the hospital sometimes and they are told it's actually hemorrhoid, what we call in a very normal way called pile. So not all pile are pile. Some piles are actually like leading to colorectal cancer. So what will need to be done is to do what they call check for polyp. They could do focal occult tests, or they could also do endoscopy or maybe sigmoid endoscopy to check. I myself, I've also had that kind of symptom. There was a time I was stooling blood. For several weeks, I have to rush to the hospital, and it was checked and discovered that I just had hemorrhoid. And because I sit a lot in my office, and the doctors encourage me to reduce sitting for too long. Sometimes you sit for some time, and then sometimes you just have to stand, move around, and stuff like that. So people should really look out for these signs, and when you see them, ensure you see your doctor and get yourself checked. And other cancers, there are so many cancers, cervical cancer, people's discharge of blood, instead of discharging menstruation, you're seeing discharges of blood, and so many other cancer like cancer of the lungs. It's just massive.
But I like you said earlier, is just making sure that people are staying, in line with those tips that you presented earlier.
Yeah.
And when something looks unusual, don't just disregard it. Make sure that you bring, that to the attention of a health professional.
Yeah.
I think those are very useful tips that you've shared, and I hope that for those who are listening, that you actually take these things quite seriously. It's more affordable to prevent these things, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Than when it actually the situation arises, because it's expensive to treat cancer.
Very expensive.
In Nigeria, especially in Nigeria.
Yeah, very expensive.
Not only is it expensive, there's also a long wait time.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So I'm so much aware about Max Foundation Generosity. It's a US based organization, and what Max Foundation do is that they have a partnership with OAU IFE. I know the head surgeon there, Dr. Alatishe. He is the surgeon who is responsible for that partnership between Max Foundation and the Nigerian organization. So they actually brings this medication and they provide it free of charge to the patient in Nigeria. Absolutely free of charge. So from all over the country, CML patients travel from all over Nigeria to IFE and they get this care free. And what Ezekiel complained is such a very serious issue. Currently in Nigeria, and thanks to the federal government, medications are not taxed. Cancer medication are not taxed. So people don't pay tax to import medications. But the problem is that cancer medications don't get taxed, but custom duties are where the problem is. So once these drugs are coming in, the custom usually asks these drugs to pay duties. And even when there are these are like donations coming from the US to Nigeria, the Nigerian custom will still insist that they pay duties. That is a very big problem. It's interesting. And I think that, I mean, not to really defend custom, I'm not in that position, but I think it's a lot more to do with the Ministry of Finance and custom to really harmonize its regulations properly and policy properly, which is very important because now the ministry mandate custom, right? To get duty, to get money, and custom is just an enforcement. They just want to get anything, let's get revenue. But they don't really, so the Ministry of Finance need to really work more in alignment with custom to ensure that waivers are provided to this kind of donations that are coming from the US and from other countries to Nigeria. I'll give you an example. For instance, right now, you know gas cylinder, right? Gas cylinder is also used for some specialized cancer treatments, right? But you know because it's reading cylinder on the packet, custom will charge you that you must pay for it, even though you're not supposed to pay for it because it's actually a health device and not just a cooking gas. So the same thing is applicable to so many other cancer medications, because radiotherapy, for instance, it's also it comes with reagent and all the rest of it. So these are the major problem that is currently happening between bringing in lots of cancer medications in Nigeria.
I'm curious to know, Runcie, is this something that organizations like Project Pink Blue that are working on this are now aware of this? Is this like an advocacy that they're also leading with the customs or the Ministry of Finance, like you mentioned?
Yes, it's actually an advocacy that we actually needing. But the problem is that it's so difficult to get the minister and to get the people in these high policymakers to really understand the need to make this happen. Because I think there is this really sort of, they just want to get more money as more revenue, right? We also got a donation of breast prosthesis, silicones. Women, when they do breast mastectomy, removal of their breast, they need mastectomy bra and silicones that they put. We got this donation from Italy. It was held by customs in Lagos, 2 bags, and one was held, one was released. For over a year, up till now, it's still there. And we've been pushing. We even went to the Minister of Finance, pushing, asking them, release this thing. This thing is actually a donation, and they're asking us to pay money for something that was donated for us to give to women back in Nigeria, free of charge.
Wow. So
it's so difficult to really get the Ministry of Finance to really, and the minister to understand how important some of these things are, because these are life-saving. So imagine somebody like Ezekiel who lives in Nasarawa have to travel all the way from Nasarawa to Ife to go get these medications, and now he can't get it, and his life is dependent on this medication. Some of them have to really take this medication all their life, and they can't afford it if they actually have to buy it from the US. So I think it's good to raise revenue for the country, but I think the minister and also other high policymakers can help us really understand that these patients are really dying, and without these medications that they won't really have the chances to see their grandchildren, to see their their children grow up and stuff like that. So it's
And,
really important.
And I think it's important that you share this information because for people like Ezekiel who are in this situation, it's also for them to understand what needs to happen,
Yes,
right? So when we
exactly.
talk about active citizenship, it's for you to now realize that okay, these are the areas where you can take action, and this is how you can go about seeking, advocating for your own, personal care. And because, I'm sure he's not the only one in this situation, right?
Exactly.
So how can more people galvanize who are in this situation to put more pressure on government to be able to do the right thing? So
I think you brought in some very powerful words here, active citizens. And to be very honest, I always say that in cancer, everyone needs to be an advocate. I may not be a cancer patient today. I don't know if I will be tomorrow. I don't know if my dad, I don't know if anyone in my family. And people will say, God forbid. I say, oh, stop saying God forbid. It's not about God. It's really about the reality we found ourselves. So I will really, people like Ezekiel and other cancer patients listening to me, I think it's so important for us to use this opportunity. Write personal letter to the minister. We've seen where personal letters work. We've seen where a cancer patient stood in the front of Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewole, and he helped to approve Cancer Health Fund, over 729 million naira to support cancer patients, in 2018. So we really encourage people, write letter. If you can't reach the minister, write to the House of Representatives, write to the House of Assembly in your state, write to the senators, reach out, call them. Their phone numbers are all on their website. Call them and let them know of this challenge. That way we can really ensure that other patients who are battling with this don't face the same challenge.
Runcie, it's been such a pleasure having this conversation with you, and I wish we could keep going on and on and on, but my producers here and the people who own my time here have reminded me that we really gotta go. But I think before we do that, I want to point our listeners to the Project Pink Blue platform. And the reason why I'm doing this is because we didn't get a chance to talk about, for those who already have cancer, I know you have some support system for them to connect with each other and just feel encouraged and not feel like this is the end of the world. And I know we've heard some positive stories that came out of that. So visit the Project Pink Blue social media platforms. They're actually very active on social media. If my social media will pop up now, maybe Runcie, you can give that information out.
Yeah, so all our social media platforms are the same, at Project Pink Blue. Project for project, pink for pink, and blue for blue. Just Project Pink Blue on any social media platform is the same. We're on YouTube, we are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Flickr, we're also on TikTok.
Wow.
So we're on any, and also our website is the same, www.projectpinkblue.org. And we encourage people to really, connect with us, partner with us, donate, organize your own fundraiser, and also volunteer, and let's see how we can continue to really, fight and reduce the burden of cancer in Nigeria.
That's amazing. And for those, who are still on the line, this is still Active Citizens. You can reach Active Citizens platform to learn how you can also, volunteer on cases related to cancer advocacy or any other type of advocacy. But generally, if you want to be more active as a citizen, let's get in touch on social media at _active citizens with an S. And that's on Instagram and on Twitter. And for those who would continue to follow this program, this radio station, at Radio Maria Nigeria-Abuja on Instagram, and all the conversations that we have here. If you missed it today, you can catch it on YouTube in a few days on Radio Maria Nigeria-Abuja. That's the YouTube platform, so you can follow the conversation beyond here. On that note, I want to thank you all for joining. Our regular listeners, God bless you for being a part of this conversation. And for our new listeners, I hope you've learned a few things today, and that you'll be joining us on our next conversation next week, Friday. Until then, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the weekend. And until I come your way again next week, Friday, 4 p.m., my name is Bella Ann Ndubuisi, and I am signing off from the Office of the Citizen. Good afternoon.